Affairs, Government of India. He has served in various capacities and occupied many important positions in the Government of India over the last 31 years. The most recent being the Officer on Special Duty and Acting President of the South Asian University in New Delhi. Some of the positions that he has held so far: he has been the High Commissioner of India to Uganda and Rwanda and Ambassador in Burundi. He has been the Ambassador of India to Romania, Moldova and Albania. He has been a senior diplomat in the embassies in Turkey, Russia, Pakistan and Afghanistan. He served as the India's delegate at the permanent mission of the United Nations in New York. He was the Deputy Director General of the Indian Council of World Affairs. He has been on deputations in the Department of Peacekeeping Operations in the United Nations Secretariat in New York to the Indian Ministry of Defense, and the list goes on and on. Dr. V S Ramesh Chandra completed his master's degree in veterinary sciences, majoring in dairy technology from the Andhra Pradesh Agricultural University. And Youth and Human Unity, he has 7 gold medals during his student career. He has participated in Youth and Human Unity seminar sponsored by the UNESCO for 9 days and was a part of the International Youth Year seminar organized in Auroville, Pondicherry, which had 33 youth participants from all over the country and abroad. The seminar had activities including group discussions, debates, elocution, sports and cultural contests, and the group in which Dr. Ramesh Chandra participated, representing APU, was adjudged the best. He also received an award for his best performances in athletics in consideration of securing the first prize. Importantly, he is an ardent devotee of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba of Prashanti Nilayam and has been the recipient of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Gold Medal for the year 1987 for being an outstanding student in the category of medical, dental, veterinary and agricultural sciences. He received the medal directly from the holy hands of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba on Guru Purnima Day on 29 July 1988. He is happily married to Mrs. Katyayani Chandra and is blessed with 2 daughters. Over to you for the presentation of Dr. V S Ramesh Chandra.
Sairam sir, it is a great honor to have you here with us. Thank you very much for joining us, and we open up the floor. Sairam.
Am I both audible and visible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. It's a singular honor to be with youngsters, most of whom are roughly about 20 to 25 years younger to me. That slide that you put up, dear Pramod, is likely to be the central theme of what I will dwell on over the next 10 or 12 minutes. But very quickly, if I'm not posing a challenge, how many of the participants today are Telugu speaking or understand Telugu? A rough count.
We have somewhere around 30 to 35 people who are pure Telugu speaking. Yeah, the majority of the participants would be able to understand Hindi. Yep.
Then that makes my job simpler. Namaskar and namaskarams to the Telugu participants. It's a great pleasure and a privilege addressing you all. These are COVID times. There have been close to 33 million infections globally and 1 million deaths in the world. And it's a transformed world in many senses of the term over the past 9 months or so. We've had 6 million cases in India and roughly about 100,000 deaths. A certain kind of fear has set in, comparable only to the Second World War period 75 years ago in 1945. Hundreds of thousands of youngsters and mid-career professionals have lost jobs globally, India included. Thousands of job offers have been withdrawn and openings closed. Naturally, there are mental health issues coming in against this rather gloomy background. I've been given about 15 minutes by the organizers, but I'll try and do it in 14 minutes. When life began in the Indian Foreign Service 31 years ago, it was an equally gloomy situation. It was the Cold War era. The Berlin Wall had just fallen in 1989. Collapse of the Soviet Union happened in the summer of 1991 when I was in Moscow. 10 years later, I was witness to the 9/11 bombings in New York when the Twin Towers were attacked by the Al-Qaeda. Terrorism will continue to pose a fairly serious challenge for India, given the unfortunate geography that we have. We are not fortunate like the United States to have Canada as our neighbor. Let me dwell on some of our strengths. At 1.3 billion people, India has the second largest population in the world. And most importantly and significantly, is the largest democracy on planet Earth. In Sanatana Dharma, and as part of the Shanti Mantra in Prashanti Nilayam, we say Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. We must dwell for a second to understand the importance of this. The reference is to all the 14 worlds. All the 14 worlds. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. That finds a reference in the Gayatri Mantra also. When you refer to Bhu, Bhuvaha and Suvaha. The foreign policy tenets of the Government of India till today include references to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, namely the whole world is a family, and Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu, namely let all the people be happy. In that sense of the term, I think we are the spiritual capital of the world with our 5,000-year-old civilization and culture. We continue to be uniquely placed in the world, even on 27 September 2020, to play a leadership role in the world through the efforts of professionals like you. I repeat, through the efforts of professionals like you. India would not have been where it is today without professionals like you. Last 25 years have seen unprecedented progress in science and technology. In 1988, and thank you, Gopi, for that lovely introduction. When I received the gold medal from Bhagavan Satya Sai Baba Garu, I cleared the civil service examination 30 years ago. It was just All India Radio and Doordarshan broadcasts that we had. We did not have the smartphones when we were preparing for our examinations. Today, you ask Google, it will give you a crash course on history. India, on balance, I think benefited from globalization and is seen globally. Interestingly, even by those who consider us as their enemy, as a power to reckon with. Why? Because of dynamic youngsters like you. The sheer size of the Indian market will ensure India's importance in the world. And therefore, I think youngsters like you must take a lot of courage from this sheer fact that you will continue to be relevant as an American youngster or a European youngster. I should be coming close to my presentation with the sharing of a few ideas. Pramod, do I have 2-3 minutes time?
Yes, sir, please.
I should be coming close to my presentation with just a few ideas. Like I said, there could be a generational divide between me and those who are listening to me. Please spend more time in the now and stress less. Believe in Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, and Ahimsa to the extent possible. Believe in these principles. Have good relations with your immediate neighbors, immediate family. This is what will contribute to your peace in the end analysis. Concentrate your energies on the need for good health. Be meditative. Japa and tapa form a part of it. Constantly upgrade your skills. These are times wherein there is everything to do with the alphabet E, electronic, e-commerce and e-bhakti included. You should be okay, in my limited assessment, if your electrons internally and externally are okay. To the medical professionals in this group, I wish to emphasize that Sheelam is Paramabhushanam. Character is the crown jewel. I do not wish to elaborate on this. Last set of points to share. Not surrendering in terms of adversity is a greater strength. This equals strength coming from winning. Take time to live. Do not live in fear. Test positive for faith. Believe in Bhajagovindam. When the departure time comes, it is inevitable. Begin your day well, please, without your smartphones and with a deep breath. Keep your cool, control your anger, consciously inculcate patience, step back when required. Do your best. If you cannot be the tallest tree on the mountain, it's perfectly okay. It's perfectly okay to be the smallest shrub in the valley, but the best shrub in the valley. This has been my guiding principle. If you cannot be the tallest tree on the mountain, it's perfectly okay. Be the smallest shrub in the valley, but the best little shrub in the valley. Communication skills. I think most of us, those who cross 30 think there is no need for me to retrain myself or reprogram myself. I think that's a false notion. We must consciously invest in retraining and reprogramming ourselves. And finally, as a last thought, keep the child in you alive all the time.
Thank you very much, sir. But we would want to listen more from you. The interest in us is just peaked. So, would you want to share your experiences with Swami as a student when you came into the fold? What advice he gave to you about education and how he guided you personally through your life? So that would be a great, learning lesson for us and of great interest as well.
No, Sairam, when I reached Puttaparthi in 1988, to receive the gold medal that Swami gave me on Guru Purnima day, he did this to me. And he said, he asked me 3 questions. What is education? What is the purpose of education? What is the end of all education? I used to be a great believer in Swami Vivekananda, and I gave him answers that I thought fit at that particular point in time. He told me a few things which I recorded in a journal 25 years ago, brought out by Prashanti Society, Hyderabad. But he told me, you're a monkey. You have all ups and downs in your brain. Uddu Bangaru, be steady and study. At that point in time, I did not know why he was mentioning what he mentioned. I returned to Hyderabad. Next day morning, the civil service examination results were announced, and lo and behold, I had cleared it in my very first attempt, the prelims. Then, to cut a long story short, I went back to Hyderabad and only came back to Prashanti Nilayam in Puttaparthi after my selection to the Indian Police Service. Being the top ranker in the IPS, I could have easily gotten Andhra Pradesh cadre, the United Andhra Pradesh then. Nageswara Garu, may his soul rest in peace, one of my gurus in that sense of the term. He told me there is a matador, a 14-seater matador going to Puttaparthi, Ramesh. If you want to, and there is only 1 seat vacant. So if you wish to jump in, most welcome. I said, sir, I'm coming in 1 hour time. I jumped in. Then we reached Puttaparthi, and in the darshan next day morning, I was introduced as V S Ramesh Chandra, IPS, joining Andhra Kada. Then Swami looked at me like this, into my eyes, and he said, Ledu, Chustan. Then I was into silence for about, and then he walked away. I had about 20 seconds or so ruminating what Swami had just mentioned. And to my right was K.B. Natarajan Garu. I did not know then, at that point in time, that he was the Chief Secretary of the Government of Andhra Pradesh. He told me, Sairam, young man, welcome to the Indian Police Service, but I think Swami may have changed the course of your destiny a few seconds ago. I gave K.V. Natarajan Garu a short lecture on the Constitution of India and told him how, even if I were to be the son of the President of India or Prime Minister of India, once allocated a service, you cannot shift to another service. And his response was something that I have recorded and I'll never forget. He said, science and technology, and logic at some point are taken over by spirituality. You'll have to accept that there are some things science cannot explain. In any case, why don't you be a little patient? Take life as it comes. By the way, my name is K.V. Natarajan and I'm the Chief Secretary of Andhra Pradesh. That is when I got a shock. I was explaining articles of the Indian Constitution to the Chief Secretary of the Government of Andhra Pradesh. And I landed in Mussoorie. The first letter in my pigeonhole was from the Department of Personnel and Training. On the basis of your initial set of preferences, you've been finally reallocated to the Indian Foreign Service. That is when perhaps I realized that, there are some things science cannot explain. and which is why I've dwelt quite a bit and at some length on Sanatana Dharma. It is important because that is what takes you through difficult times. Happy times are okay, they're also God's grace. But when you are going through difficulties, it is just the Lord's name that provides you some consolation. Have I crossed my limits of time, Pramod?
No, sir, you're just whetting our appetite. We want to listen to more of the anecdotes that you have seen. You have spent considerable time with Swami as well. So it would be wonderful to listen more from you, sir.
This has been the experience with several other Sai devotees as well. When we began our career in Moscow some 31 years ago, we would, a few of us, I think 5 or 6 of us, would jump into the Moscow metro with about, how many, 35, 40 sandwiches. To be sure, that was 1991 when the Soviet Union collapsed. And there was rampant poverty everywhere. And when you had to travel in Moscow, say in December, you had to have 3 layers of clothing. But we still did it, you know, packing about 30, 35 sandwiches in each bag. 6 or 7 of us would simply travel by the metro, stop at every station, just give them these sandwiches, vegetarian sandwiches, people sitting in the metro and no food. And I remember receiving special accolades in Prashanti Nilayam for returning from St. Petersburg. At that point in time, we had a substantial number of devotees, followers of Bhagavan Baba, who were from Russia. And my singular credential entering into Prashanti Nilayam and being brought into Swami's presence was my serving in Moscow, and then of course later in St. Petersburg, again where there were a number of devotees. And bhajans were conducted in those days in palaces, in palatial residences, where Swami would bless those present with unbelievable happenings. Just as Omkar would start, there would be a very fierce dropping of the garlands placed on his photographs in multiple places. And there are several Russian devotees even today where in their residences there is either vibhuti or honey coming from his photographs. Today, as of 27 September 2020, can someone explain this logically to me? I find it unbelievable. So journey has been smooth for me, largely because I have kept him in my heart. Even as we speak, many of us are looking forward to the third avatar of Baba, Premasai, and I'm sure all of us are going to be small instruments in that journey process as well. So Pramod, I wish to stop here and we'll be very happy to answer a few questions if there are any.
Sure, sir. So, Sairam brothers and sisters, please raise your hands for taking questions, and any of you can start unmuting and you can start asking questions to sir.
If they can please introduce themselves.
Yes, please state your name and which state you are from and what do you do. Yeah, Sangeeta sister, please go ahead. Please unmute yourself.
Sairam sir, my name is Sai Sangeeta. I'm from Kerala. Sir, you have served very high positions, and in that way, like you have been in different countries like Pakistan, Afghanistan, and you would have faced lot of situations like what decision I should take. Some of your experiences on decision making that will throw some insight for us.
Thank you. Prabhat, can I respond to that?
You're most welcome, sir.
Yeah. Sangeeta, thank you for that question. It is a difficult question to the extent that decision making has never been easy. For centuries, there have been theories on decision making when it comes to public policy. A leader has or is given a set of choices. So which choice do you zero in on probably holds the key. When you refer to Pakistan, for example, we have been, I think I referred to this very briefly. We are not fortunate like the United States to have Canada as a neighbor. But as former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee said, you cannot change your neighbors. So I would like to believe that an optimal decision is a decision that is helpful not only to you but to your opponent as well, even if he's an enemy. Even if he is an enemy, I think a decision that you take will have to be balanced, will have to be just, and it will have to be seen also to be a just decision. Then even an enemy is likely to see your point of view at some stage, despite opposition to that. I don't know whether I've answered your question, but against a set of options that are available, you choose the best decision and you stand by it. I think you should have the courage to stand by the decision that you have taken. And if it's proven wrong, retrospectively, have the modesty and have the simplicity to accept that it was not an entirely correct decision. I think this what is my submission.
Sairam sir.
Thank you, sir. So any brothers and sisters, if you have any other question, please unmute yourself, and the others, you can raise your hand so that we can queue up the questions. In case you are not able to access the chat here, please type your questions in the WhatsApp and we will be monitoring that as well. I do not know the name. So this person's ID is having 39581. Please go ahead. You can ask your question.
Saram sir, this is Arjun from Kerala again. Sir, my question is regarding one of a discussion I heard in a satsang in our local samadhi. So this happened a couple of years back, at least 5-6 years back. An alumni was I was discussing few things which Swami directly told them. So I don't know like these statements what Swami told them, what he told us is correct. So the one statement what he said was, in mid 2020s, India will be a super country which will be controlling the, I mean, not controlling, like which will be supporting the whole world. So you are the right person to answer this. Are you aware of such kind of statement which Swami had made? And what do you think about the world's, like India's current situation and the pattern, how India is moving? Is there a possibility that India can be in that stage in the future?
Thank you very much. I think, as I mentioned, these are truly testing times for the entire planet Earth as we know it. We are the largest, as of 2020, we are the, is there a fan? Thoda kam karna. We are the largest producer of vaccines in the world. We have assisted something like 150 countries with medicines. And we are going through phase 3 clinical trials, as the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji mentioned. And the Prime Minister, 2 sentences from his speech yesterday really struck me. When India was strong, we did not trouble the world. When we were weak, we did not become a burden on the world. And he called for security and growth for all. He tried to explain saying, I know that I'm being a little incoherent here and not directly addressing your point, but I'll come to it insofar as leadership position for India. We, like I said, we're the largest democracy in the world. We are the spiritual capital of the world. We are seen globally by the United States, by Europe, as a leading center for science, technology, and innovation. And against the background of a 5,000-year-old civilization, at a minimum. So, and we, our mantra is security and growth for all. So, with this kind of a mantra, security and growth for all, I don't see any obstacle for India emerging as numero uno once again. Just 250 years ago, between India and China, we constituted almost 50% of the global economy. Yeah, just 300 years ago, between India and China, we contributed about 50% of the global economy. So I see in genetics, there's a term called atavism, a reversal to the back. That is inexorably the way for India forward, as I see it. And it's because of youngsters like you all, professionals like you all, who are doing India proud. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Sairam, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Brother Vimalatheetan, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, sir. It's great to have you in this session. This is Vimalatheetan from Tamil Nadu. I would like to ask one thing. Before that, I don't belong to any political party, but I want to know whether the GST changes and other changes which Prime Minister has been bring it up. So, what is the current status of India on what is the impact globally?
Well, may I seek your permission? I'm still in the government of India. I'm not authorized to speak on this type of question. Kindly permit me to.
Yeah.
Please
let us
let us
avoid questions. Let us avoid questions on the foreign policies or the Indian government policies. This is purely a kind of a leadership program, and for self-transformation, you could definitely ask questions pertaining to the spirit of leadership and as well as other aspects of how the ABS has actually moved on his life to a greater height with the name of Swami in his heart.
Thank you. Thank you, Gopi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So, Brother Shubham Chauhan, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Loving Sairam, sir. Sir, I wanted to ask that being in the foreign services, like The primordial example we can see Swami Vivekananda is the best example as the foreign services person. So I wanted to ask how challenging it is to represent this great nation of ours at international level, because the world listens to our words. How do we push how do we put the weight in our words that must be felt and listened by each and every at each and every part of the world? How do you do what you do, sir? Is spiritually the exact base or foundation behind whatever you do, sir?
Thank you very much. That's a wonderful question, and I love it. Uh, you see, 31 years ago, India did not have the same level of punch. In boxing competitions, you have different categories, right? You know it better than me. We were at a completely different level 3 decades ago when I joined the service. But today, when I go into an international forum and I say I am representing India, suddenly about 12-15 people among the biggies are there to hear to you because you're from India. That is the difference between India of 30 years ago and India of today. 30 years ago, in a different forum, I mentioned our population was seen as a great burden on us. Our poverty levels, our malnutrition levels, our illiteracy levels. But today, the same population, great majority of the 1.3 billion people are seen as a demographic dividend. And like I said, it's you youngsters who are bringing in this kind of change of perception globally about India, especially when it comes to science, technology, and innovation, and the value systems that we stand for. I think that is where India has a distinct appeal and respect globally, if I may say so. Today, people are realizing the importance of yoga, being able to sit quietly for 15 minutes. Despite all the advances in science and technology, like I said, I think what India has to offer to the world is its spirituality. When and value systems and Sanatana Dharma, the EEGs, the it's an electroencephalogram, pictures taken in the United States before and during the chant of Vedic mantras adequately proves changes in the brain waves and their stabilizing effects of these mantras. The world is researching all these aspects today, and India, a few Western diplomats have told me almost 20 years ago, we need India for all the right reasons, and your adversary is needed for all the wrong reasons. 40 to 50,000 terrorists are being housed there, and the Prime Minister of Pakistan mentions this in the United States, I think 2019 statement. We have 40,000 to 50,000 terrorists inside Pakistan territory. Now, I know that I'm inviting trouble here, but this is what probably was referred to in the context of 2020 and in the context of India. Like I mentioned earlier, I think we'll come out very strong on the vaccine front as well. And we are not just doing it for ourselves. We are helping 150 countries in the world with free medicines, not free medicines entirely, but with medical help from Asia to Latin America to Africa. where I have also served. And that help is very deeply appreciated. I hope I've answered your question.
Absolutely, sir. Sairam.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is in line with what you have been saying today, sir. So you have mentioned that there is a lot of potential in today's youth, and especially the professionals in the design and analytics and technology sphere. So if somebody is in the traditional government jobs or in politics or in civil services, and even law and medicine, they can have a direct impact on the nation and its growth. So how do professionals like us, how do we impact the nation, and how do we become part of its social development apart from our service endeavors? This question is from Sister Nishta Joshi. Sister, you can unmute yourself, and if you want to rephrase the question, or if you have any follow-up questions, please unmute yourself. Over to
That
you,
will help. That will help.
Yes,
Hearing him.
Sairam. Yeah. Sairam sir, I'm Nishta Joshi from Madhya Pradesh, and I'm in the middle of a career transition right now, trying to move towards digital design. So I wanted to ask you, if somebody is not in the traditional jobs like law and medicine, and also not really working in the government, how can people like that, people in the design and the tech arena, help the government directly in their social endeavors for nation building?
Well, at some stage, design is everything, isn't it? Design and architecture is everything for all of us, and India is known for it. These are typically areas that will pave the way for India's future. Gone are the days when, doing engineering or medicine or law for that matter are the only areas of promise for youngsters. Today, I think disciplines like design, fashion, computing of a different kind, artificial intelligence, small interventions. These are going to prove what we are going to be. And has underdevelopment in India over the past 70 years been a curse for the nation? I don't think so. In Europe or in the United States, structures have already been made. You cannot dismantle them. But in India, in vast pockets of land all over the country, from the Himalayas to the southern seas bordering Sri Lanka, or from Gujarat to the far eastern borders of India, there is so much of construction to happen, so much of design that has to happen. So I'm a great believer. You just keep upgrading your skills. I think if I were to re-begin my career, I would do it in design, young lady. So Sairam, God bless and strength to your elbows.
Thank you so much, sir. Sairam.
Thank you, sir. Sairam Dishi sister, you can please go ahead, ask your question and unmute yourself.
Loving Sairam, sir. I am Dishi from Maharashtra, Nagpur. So my question is about decision making. Like, we may not be very confident about our decisions, whether it is correct or not. And you may have taken a lot of decisions in your career. So can you guide us about how to tackle this kind of situation, how to be very confident about the decisions we make? Some tips for us would be very helpful, sir.
Well, this is the second question on decision making. As it happens, 31 years ago, when I took the civil services examination, I took public administration as one of my optionals. And there there was a question in public administration on Simon's theory of decision making. And someone who flew in from Delhi into Hyderabad 32 years ago, 1988, took a piece of chalk and was on the board, on the blackboard, and he said there are various interpretations to Simon's theory of decision making, but here is just one of them. And then he drew a triangle, and then you know the concept of how decisions can be sort of measured. I'll not go into specifics, but suffice to say, what I wrote in the examination, in the UPSC examination paper, was precisely that. There are several interpretations to Simon's theory, but here is just one of them. For now, it's important to just note that there are these concentric circles, each decision impinging on one other decision that you take in a related area or issue. So what kind of a decision you take will depend on the kind of inputs you get. If the kind of inputs that you get are complete, your decision is that much more precise. If there is someone hiding information from you, you cannot possibly take a good decision. I mean, this is my very limited reading of decision making. If you are told that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have happened, and you are not told that 6 and 7 have also happened, then the decision that you take will be based on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, without recognizing the importance of actions 6 and 7. So that's where I think any manager has to be very, very careful in getting the full picture, having a broad consultation. And that consultation process is very, very important. And building a team, you need to build a team of people. You must expect out of every 10 people, there'll be 2 or 3 people who are not up to it, not performing well for one reason or the other. So even among those 8 out of the 10 people or 7 among the 10 people that you're working with, you should be able to sort of consult, gain their trust, and you must be seen as being trustworthy as well as a manager. I think these are some things that need to be also consciously inculcated among the youngsters. And if you are a manager with just about 10, 12, 15 people working around you, please instill faith and trust in them and take care of them. I think that that will give you so many Hanumans, to help you out when you need to take your own decisions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Sairam.
Thank you, sir. Brother Akshit Arora has the next question. Brother, please go ahead and ask it.
Sairam, sir. This is Akshit from Gujarat. Sir, I have a question actually what I face generally, or you can say, yes, that, in the countries like developed countries like USA or Japan, so the things are really systematic there, but that is not the case in India. We see a lot of chaos in our, everywhere. We have so many cultures, we have so many religions, we have so many regional things, languages. So, when we talk about this leadership and management, and so of course that requires somewhere systematic things. So there, these things become quite difficult when it comes to making systemized for all this chaotic order. So how can we do this?
Well, I see your point. The quality of Indian population is what you're referring to. I do not disagree with you in terms of the level of illiteracy or the absence of true education. I think that is where the Satyasai group of institutions and the Prashanti Society is concentrating on the value systems and education, the type and quality of education at the grassroots level. That is what will determine tomorrow's India, along with progress in the medical sphere. Investment in both education and in medicine or the medical sphere from the Government of India has been very little compared to what it should ideally be, even as of 2020. There is no excuse for not spending more on education and health. And COVID-19 has very adequately proved it. You are lucky, young man, that you are from Gujarat, where the Honorable Prime Minister comes from. There, even as Chief Minister of Gujarat, he has done so much for precisely these two areas, education and health. And which is what has brought him to the helm of affairs, I suppose, and with a thumping majority and for a second term. And India is truly blessed having him. In the presentation, you must have seen one photograph of me with him. We were in Hyderabad House as ambassador, as High Commissioner in Uganda. I was called to Delhi for consultations and got a call one evening saying, come, group photograph with the Prime Minister, come quickly. So I put this jacket on and rushed there for that lovely photograph, which I'll cherish for a long time to come. But insofar as the imagery is concerned, I think, thank you very much for bringing that photograph up. He was very plain and simple in saying, don't be defensive about your country. You have so many strengths. I think you should focus on those strengths, some of which were in my presentation. And I think the single point agenda for all Indians must be to set the agenda, not be dictated by an agenda given to us from the outside. We have all it takes. We have all it takes, a young population, a very literate, increasingly literate population. When an Indian goes out today, he's seen as an open-minded person, a person who can be trusted, a person who is hardworking, a person who has a set of value systems towards life and society. I think these are the things that we should be looking at, the positive aspects of being an Indian citizen and, having a tremendous amount of self-pride in being Indian. My limited understanding.
Thank you very much.
Sairam.
Perfect. So, sir, the next question is from Arun Das, brother from Kerala. Brother, would you want to ask the question?
Yes, Sairam, thank you. Sairam sir. So my question is, what are the changes that you see in 21st century bureaucrats, especially in their attitude or leadership skills or their commitment towards the society? So what are the major changes that you see in them? You are senior most office bearer, so you must be having some point to add that.
Well, that's...
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Please complete your question.
That is the... I'm done, sir.
See, thank you for that question. I see this tremendous interest from Kerala, and Sairam to all of you all from there. You know, we changes in bureaucracy. I think Indian bureaucracy is yet to completely rise up to the challenge of globalization. In my personal assessment, you know, these are times when social media is determining most of what we do. There is a need, a compelling need for the bureaucracy to understand that service to society has to happen with some sense of urgency. And the technology of today, and I salute Bill Gates for enabling this process some 25 years ago. There is increased transparency today than was the case even 25 years ago, when I, you know, was barely into 6 years of service in government. People today are answerable. People today are conscious of the fact that they'll be held accountable even 7, 8, 10 years after retirement. You know, the decisions that you take on file. And dear friend Gopi's dad was a very celebrated civil servant in the government of Andhra Pradesh and in the government of India. These are people whom we constantly learn from, you know, to be correct, to be sincere, to be with integrity, to be honest, to do the best that you can possibly do for all that the government is giving you from the date of joining and well into you know, your post retirement years. So I think the challenge before the Indian bureaucracy, which was your question, is how to manage the situations today when the social media is being so bloody proactive, sometimes with not straightforward intentions, with malified intentions. If attacks are directed against civil servants, then, you know, what happens then is there is inaction. A collector, a district collector will choose to sit back at home rather than invite trouble for himself. So that is where is the challenge for today's collectors and, you know, senior police officers. And insofar as the foreign service is concerned, it is not very different. In Uganda, I remember when I was High Commissioner there. Pramod, I'm taking too much of your time?
No, sir. I think this is well worth what we are listening. So yes, please continue.
In Uganda, there was an instance where, you know, it was elections time, 2016, and a few Indian shops were gutted because of a short circuit there. And there was a story in the Gujarati media saying Indian businesses in Uganda being targeted. 8 shops burned. So many millions of dollars of loss. And someone brought this to my attention, saying there's a news story in Gujarati media saying, in India, saying, you know, Indian businesses in Uganda are under attack. I quickly called the chairman of the Indian Association and I said, please come down to my room, to India House, my residence. And had another prominent Gujarati there, and I essentially asked them to speak for a minute each, saying, business chalo che. Business is on in Uganda. There is no attack on Indian businesses. This is a small short circuit. Elections are on, but then this is what is the truth. So that is a challenge for a civil servant today, whether in the Indian Administrative Service, whether in the Indian Foreign Service, or whether it's in the Indian Police Service. How do you, and how many challenges in a day can you face when faced with misinformation, that is with malified intentions? So you are guilty unless proven otherwise, unfortunately. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you, sir. So we'll just take two more questions.
So much.
Thank you, brother. So, sir, we will just take two more questions. One question is from Sister Priyanka. Sister, would you want to ask the question, please?
Yeah, Sairam sir, it's Priyanka from Gujarat. Sir, my question is that in a situation where you are confused between something which is not legally right, but the morally it's right. So what you should go for? Like the law won't forgive you, but the people won't forget you for the things you have done for them. So as a leader, how should I bridge the gap?
That's a very interesting question. Between legality and morality, I would choose morality. You would, you will certainly need to look at law and its interpretation, but the moral value that has been behind the drafting of that law has almost equal significance. If, for example, in legal terms, and there are enough nuances in law that provide for an interpretation of the law. And if you are reading a 3-sentence stipulation in any law, you know, either civil or criminal or commercial law, there is that element, you know, that 10%, 15% element of interpretation. And there, many times it is subjective. There, I think morality comes in. Unless you are able to look at the difference between what is right and wrong without vested interest. Without vested interest, if you are able to interpret, you know, the logic behind the formulation of the structure of that particular provision, I think it will be difficult to come to a convincing solution. As they say in law, justice not only needs to be done, it also has to be seen. It has to be seen as being done. So there, I think morality is what is good, what is bad, what is correct, what is wrong. So that subjective interpretation will always be there, but I think it's good to have moral values that support your interpretation of law.
Thank you very much, sir. I hope we are really enjoying this and we want to keep continuing. We have a lot of questions coming in, but I think we would want to hear about your experiences through traveling through the world, sir. You have traveled throughout the world. You've been to many, many countries and you've been in positions of power. So we would want to know how you have experienced the Sai mission spreading throughout the globe, how the message from Swami and Swami's work is being spread and it is growing, and how is that fraternity of our Sai community, and what are the services that we are doing that you have seen and been part of. That would be great, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Pramod, I think see, we are a nation that has produced so many saints and seers and gurus, and we continue to do that unfailingly, and that's a strength to humanity, as it were. Like I said, in a sense of the term, we are the spiritual capital of the world. Even if you take the concentration of Muslims, after Indonesia, we are the second largest Muslim population in the world, more than the entire population of Pakistan. And we have absorbed all those cultures within, starting from design, like one of the Sai sisters was referring to, from Taj Mahal to elsewhere. And we have had our own brand, very rich brand of temple architecture, and very ancient temples dating back to 600 to 800 years, where till today you look at the deity and you see the eyes shining in them and blessing you. So this is part of the Sanatana Dharma, and my travels through the globe, especially in the early 1990s, have taken me through Russia for large part, and there I could see Swami's influence touching the lives of thousands of people in terms of decision making. Thank you very much for putting forward a photograph of mine with President Vladimir Putin. He was of the Russian Federation. He actually wrote a book in which he said, if I had money, I would go to India. That was the kind of rich influence that India has had on. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. He was the mayor of St. Petersburg in those days, and then later went on to become the Prime Minister of Russia, and then the President of Russia. He continues to be the President of Russia, and a dear friend of mine. So how has Swami's mission helped? Basic awareness of education and health. These are sectors that are going to be relevant even in the future, even as we await the arrival of Prema Sai. One Sai sister posted to me when this special constellation, special arrangement of astrology happened a week ago, when all the major planets were in a certain position that has never happened in the past 200 years or so, and unlikely to happen at least in the next 200 years ago. That's when a Sai sister posted saying, Prema Sai may have come. So for someone who was clairvoyant, was with a mission to change society and to influence social values, to say that greed is not the only thing in life. You have to have kindness, you have to have compassion, you have to have a certain caring attitude towards those around you. I think that is a message that continues to be very, very vibrant and more relevant today as of 27 September 2020 than it was ever before. Please think of your neighbor as well in these very difficult times. I think that's a message that has been Swami's message through and through, and I think that message is spreading. People are realizing the importance of being kind and being with compassion to help out others in need.
Thank you very, very much, sir. It is really thrilling how casually you are mentioning how you are best of friends with one of the most powerful men in this entire world. It's really, really amazing and thrilling for all of us. So I would like to call upon Gopi sir to come and speak a few words, sir. Gopi.
Sai Ram, wonderful session. AVS, you rocked. Yeah, I should say that you rocked. It's so nice to hear the stories of love of Swami. And in fact, the last one, when you were talking of Putin and you said you're still in touch with the most powerful, one of the most powerful persons on earth. It really is, amazes me. And I'm sure that this connect to this such people is all because of your association of good virtues with good virtues and Swami. I'm sure I still remember the day when, I was also there in Prashant India when Swami was just walked off saying Tusta and he walked off, when you were in the police service and you moved on to the Indian Foreign Service. I think the country needs people like you with virtues and values to showcase uh, the the power or the spiritual power of our country in other countries. And thank you. I think all the youngsters, I still see a lot of questions that have come up there. Due to paucity of time, we will not be able to take it there right now, but we will populate these questions and send it to you, and we will trouble you. You can either answer this on a voice mode and send it back to us so that we can share it on the group, and all these youngsters have the benefit of listening to those answers to these questions. So thank you very much once again for being with us. We will definitely call you once again in person, maybe to address our students also in the Satsang Institute of Higher Learning. And it'll be a great moment to catch up. Thank you very much. And thank you very much. And for those participants who are online right now, we had AVS now. In the coming months, we will be having LVS also. LVS is LV Subramaniam, the former Chief Secretary of Andhra Pradesh. He'll be speaking to you. We've also just finalized. I'm just returning from Prashantinilayam after having the first darshan after 4 months. And I have prayed for the well-being of all the participants of the NLP program. Professor Anil Kumar has also agreed to speak to all of you. He said he would like to have an interactive session rather than speaking Gyan about Swami. He said, I would be very ready to answer questions, and I would really be happy to listen to the youngsters speak out about their problems. So stay tuned. We have a lot more speakers of eminence who will be joining us in the next few weeks. And I would request all of you to, log in at least about 5 minutes. I've said this the last time also. Please log in at least 5 minutes so that, we have the entire group there present even before the guest arrives to speak. Thank you very much. Jai Sairam. Over to you, Pramod.
Thank you very much from my side, Pramod. You've been an excellent anchor, and this was possible because of dear friend Gopi.
Thank you.
Sairam.
I know it is not customary to talk after the vote of thanks, but I would like to point out the love for dogs that all the great leaders have. Love for animals, rather, I should say. Swami, we all know. Gopai, we know. Sir is also having the wonderful companion. He's also coming over to the screen. Just wanted to call that up.
Yeah. She's been pulled away by my wife, Katyayani. She came to us as a 1-month-old pup 6 years ago. And she's been a part of the family through and through.
Thank you, sir. So we even have wonderful stories from Gopi, sir, with banjo sai. So I think one entire discussion we should have about that also.
My Labrador is the epicenter of my life.
Oh, so nice knowing you. Thank you very much, and Sairam to all. Wishing you all a wonderful week ahead on a Sunday evening. Those of you all who are wanting to catch up with IPL should do so immediately.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Sairam, and blessings to all the youngsters in the group.
We will end with Shanti Mantram.
Yeah.
We will end
Yes.
with Shanti Mantram.
Yes, please.
Om Shri Sai.
Thank you very much, everybody. Sai Ram.